Howdy folks, welcome to the Scannell Agenda. Today's date is May 30th, 2017. This is show number 64, entitled Help Wanted. Yesterday was Memorial Day, and it was also JFK's 100th birthday. Had he lived, he'd be 100 yesterday. And he had longevity in the family. His mother lived to be a ripe old age, 104 or something. I'm not sure how long she lived. So, Hyannis has been a place of remembrance, especially on this day. And I take a lot of pride in Hyannis for being the host to the Kennedys over the many, many years. My parents went to see the acceptance speech when JFK won. That was at the Armory. And I guess it took a while for Richard Nixon to concede. And I can remember when he was assassinated that day, I was crying all day because my parents, I'd never seen them crying, but they were crying. So I started crying. I think I was 6. And I remember I went over to across the brook and I was just racked with tears at a young age, and I vowed that I would run for president and be president. I was very political, like most people in my family. My dad, they weren't party people, but they were servants. That's how I see myself too. But happy birthday to JFK. 100 years yesterday would have been his birthday. Who knows, maybe he would have made it, who knows. I have my theories, most people do, about that whole assassination thing. No need to get caught up with all that business. Help Wanted, the name of the show today is about I'm asking for some help to present my ideas. Polish me up. Get this show on the road. This is show number 64. You'd think I would have done a better job up until now, but I do most of my work on my clipboard, and I don't do most of my work polishing up my presentations, which should be a criticism of me, that I don't put enough importance on the show, that I'm always somehow obsessed with what's on my clipboard. But that's what I do. And I think other people can step up and help me out and do what they do, whatever it is that they do. Now, when you're presenting ideas on a TV show here, and it's someone like me with a clipboard, and right now at show number 64, I'm not even able to put these ideas up on a projector and then go and point out this and that, and like a teacher would in a classroom. Teacher might bring in some notes and put it on the projector and project up onto the wall and then go over the material. So I'm kind of backwards here, and I need some help. I think some of the ideas, and that's all I've ever claimed, are good. Some of the ideas are good. I know that's true, that some ideas are good. Now the percentages, and here's my lovely wife, Pam. The percentages on these ideas are such that, let's say, as I was explaining to Pam the other day, and honey, you can get a microphone and come on in whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I gotta get my glasses.
Okay. All right. So maybe we'll do a prayer and pizza show. That'd be good. So where was I? Let's see. Yeah, I need help with things like that. And as I approach show number 100, I really want to go professional, as they say, and do more important work and have people behind me like University of Rhode Island, MIT, the Blue Economy brainstormers from all the towns on the East Coast here and inland and the whole world, basically. I must be old because I try to limit things. And these days, the kids wouldn't do that. They wouldn't limit things. So if I'm working on a Bay Scallop revival program of some sort, I would want to limit it because of my age and I'm old in my thinking. down to, you know, maybe past New York into New Jersey and have a zone where all of us get together and then work on floating marine laboratories, etc. But the kids don't have these problems. They have other problems, but they don't have the limitation issues that I might have. So because also we have what's called, I call it news food or junk food news. You know, you are what you eat. And I think we have a real problem here with media on the Cape and everywhere else in the country, not to embarrass Cape Cod, but the whole country and maybe the whole world has these same issues with the big money media getting in there and just giving out a lot of cheese food. You know what cheese food is, right? It's cheap imitation cheese. It's really not the good stuff. And now I think we have a situation where Cape Codders, and not to put Cape Codders on the spotlight, but most people in the country, Cape Cod and the islands, we have a problem with being in a servile rut. That's what I'm saying. We're in a servile rut. And this can happen in a couple. Let's say you have a man and a wife or a couple, and the husband or the wife takes on a nature that's a little bit controlling, let's say, and then the other one gets into a rut because they're controlled. So I'm just saying that we have a problem, and most people think we do anyway. It's not just me. But as they say on the Shawshank Redemption, that guy said, there's some things they can't control. They can't control what's in your mind. That was a good movie. Welcome back, folks, to the Scannell Agenda, and my lovely wife Pam has shown up here. Hi, honey.
Hi.
And thanks for taking time. I know you've had a busy day today. This is show 64, May 30th. All right. And I've been talking about help wanted because I need help, and also we need help with Prayer and Pizza. Mm-hmm. And we need help with the Hyannis Honeymooners. That's our other show. Prayer and Pizza is your show. The Scannell Agenda is my show. And the Hyannis Honeymooners is kind of our show.
And I have an email in my government phone, plus I have the information in a folder, so that's progress. Thank you guys for your prayers.
Mm-hmm. So I want to talk about media reform along with helping out on this show here. I know most people realize that we have major problems with the big money media and what I call news food, okay? We really do. So we need the political activists to be on the table, respected. I don't know about respected necessarily, but at least people that vote and citizens should have an awareness that there are people other than those selected by, you know, the powers that be, this media that is part of what I call the oligarchy. The oligarchy will not select someone like me and put someone like me on the spotlight. I can remember years ago I had an article. I was in jail at the time for digging the salt ponds on Nantucket, and there was a front page article, and every single sentence was either false or extremely misleading. It was an article, and I marveled at that every single sentence was either false, you know, patently false, or very misleading. So if you have friends in the media, maybe it's because, you know, you're going to do something for the oligarchy and for the powers that be. And if the media in this big media, big money media world that we are now in, if they're not your friends, maybe you're good at what you do. All right, I think I'm good at what I do. I think some of the ideas are pretty good.
Well, we are going to be persecuted, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
It's okay. Satan is defeated.
Yeah. So last night I had on TV Barnstable Waterways Committee talking about the moorings. And I I think we need more of a relationship between these moorings and our fishery management. These are both public resources. The moorings are more or less of a real estate resource, even though the real estate is at sea. And I think it should be handled professionally, and we need to, I believe, dispense with this mentality that you're grandfathered in and you've been there, so you get to keep a boat that you don't use on a mooring, and that's your spot, that's yours, it belongs to you. I don't think that helps the public good at all. I think what we need is a market quota system for moorings, and that means that you would be in a market system and you would be paying market rates for the moorings. And we need to go modern with the helix systems and other systems. We need to go with rafts for the little tiny boats, especially the class boats, which we're doing. Double up inshore, maybe use more rack storage around the waterfront areas with a forklift, things like that. So I also want to talk about now, move on, and talk about the bore zone work that I've been doing. That means border zone work. This is important work, I feel, because if we're going to build a wall worth billions and billions of dollars, then why not think first about what else we could or should do, rather than just building a monstrous, defensive, ugly wall. Well, maybe it won't be ugly, maybe it'll look good. But to my way of thinking, if you build a really good wall, it's going to cost a lot of money, so why not do something else? Something else would be something that makes money, has a cash flow, and serves a need. So the bore zone project is something I've been working on a lot. And you keep telling me, why don't you send some of this to Donald Trump?
Yeah, that's from the throne room. I know Donald Trump needs to be contacted on this. It's a happy no-so.
But before I get into the bore zone here, I'm going to just touch on some of the things that I need help on. But basically, I'm asking for help because I do public service work. I design comprehensive, complex systems for the public trust. I work for the public. I don't work for the rich people, and I don't have a problem with being servile, and I'm not in a servile rut, as is the Cape and the Islands area. The people, we're in a servile rut mode. And as I mentioned, it's like being the second in command in a couple, and you're just demoralized, and you're following orders, and your spirit's getting crushed. So that's us, basically. And we're not operating as a full-fledged democracy should. And if you look at fisheries, if you look at the moorings, things like that, you'll see upon study that this is not what the public really wants and needs, okay? Now, we need help with fishery work, the market quota system. We need help for the scallops, for the herring, for the cod, for the eelgrass, for the kelp. I've devoted my life to this work. Also, lately I've been working on the tripe system. That means track pipe. It's a monorail system that carries utilities and energy. And I've talked quite a bit about that. I have solved the energy crisis. So I need some help because I've solved it, but it's not apparent that I've solved it.
Yeah, it needs to get published. It needs to get, spread it, guys, spread it around.
And if it isn't true, let's roast me and say, well, this is ridiculous, but it's not ridiculous. I've put together boats, and I've worked at boatyards all my life, and been a fisherman, and I just don't subscribe to the ridiculous. This stuff here, this tripe system, is all good off-the-shelf technology, and it's what we need to solve the energy crisis. It's what we need to green the earth and sea. Now, the town nurse-based system is also something that I need some help with to get it polished up, and that is social services or societal services systems. So we need to know that our money's being spent judiciously and properly, and that people are being cared for, and I will tell you it's not the case now. We have a lot of problems with our social services, and we have a long way to go towards efficiency and quality of life for the citizens and for people with problems and disabilities, etc. Now, prayer and pizza and the Hyannis honeymooners, that's our fun stuff, I think. And I mean the Hyannis honeymooners, that's kind of fun. That's a fun show. I'm not going to tell us all about the little trip we just went on, but that was kind of fun, huh?
Yeah, and if I do have time to do prayer and pizza, it's going to be on Romans 8.
We will have time. That's our next show.
Okay.
As soon as we wrap this show up, that's what we'll do.
We
Now-
had a good trip, though. I know which one I think he's talking about.
Yeah. So I had a breakthrough yesterday. Remember I told you that?
Yep.
Now, I've been designing all manner of PV systems that run along the border. That is photovoltaic. And the PV system or the board would sort of substitute for a wall. And instead of a wall, I have a 900-foot setback designed for these PVs. And they would be basically a lean-to with a building and then a little swale for some grass, and there would be light coming in between these big 108-foot by 36-foot panels. They'd probably be a little longer than that, maybe a little wider. So I have it drawn up here. Do you see that? And this is what I need help with. This should be, the people should be viewing this drawing here, so that when I point to a 35-degree full east to full west orientation, these are PVs that tilt towards the sun on one axis, not two, just one. It would be possible to do a double axis, but it wouldn't be worth it. So I have, the ingenious thing here is that I'm using a tapered pipe as a hinge for the PV system to rock on. In the morning, it'll start out, before the sunrise, it'll be pointing toward the sun. It'll be facing easterly in a general way. And then as the sun comes up and goes to noontime, 10 minutes, thank you, Dave, it'll go toward more of a flat. And then as the sun goes down to the west, it'll tilt toward the west. So that will be accomplished simply and using rudder mechanisms that you'd find on boats. It'd be very simple. Shaft bearings. And I'm designing the shaft now, or the pipe as I call it, to also do double duty as one of the upright columns for a building. So I'll go to that now. I've been designing things for the border zone. Now I've been designing because I believe water is coming to these dry areas. So if water is coming to these dry areas, well then, my design work will be ready for that eventuality. My water systems bring the water to the border zone.
Excuse me, I have an idea that folks, if 88.3 radio FM, maybe they could get some of this information out. You could, maybe they're even watching. I hope they are. I think it's too soon to watch, actually.
Hey, maybe that'd be a good lead.
That would be very good.
Yeah, and just spotlight on some design talent
That's
here
right.
that's working on these. This border wall to me is not ridiculous because I have it. I'm looking at the conventional thinking too, and that is just put up a wall. We need a wall, just put up the wall. All right, here's the conventional thinking on a wall. This is a 40-foot wall, standard thinking, I call it. Now I've got that drawn up and we can build that. Now it would be smart if we build something like this to set it back from the actual border, and then also like a 900-foot setback, and then have a double duty use projected for this expensive wall. In other words, a building or a PV array, that kind of thing. So I am clued into what the current thinking is, but I just don't agree with it. That's the usual case anyway. So this here is for the bore zone. It's a building. It's called a green box hex house or hotel cupcake. You could use it for a hotel. You could use it for a county jail building or whatever you want to use it for. It's a building. It has a swimming pool on the roof, and a central standpipe would hold up the weight of the swimming pool. It's only about 6 floors tall. It's slab on grade, but it's got these columns which join panels, and this is all built on site. I have it designed to build it on site. Most of the big pieces would be built on site. The panels would be the big pieces. And then these pipes, which I have designed now to be used as these lean-to PV support pipes that I just got into, and I explained all that about the, instead of a wall, we'll have a PV array going from California down into Texas. Where the Rio Grande is, I'm not so sure what we're going to do exactly, something different most likely. But anyway, the thing is, if you design this PV wall, so to speak, you've designed in security because you're going to protect that. It's going to be set in a little bit. And you're going to design the pipes to be strengthened in hard points, it's called. And those will be where your bearings are, very simple bearings. You could even use, bowling balls if you wanted to, or any simple manner of nothing expensive, just simple bearings, because you only need to slowly tilt, twice a day or so. So the pipes will be doing double duty as construction supports for this building that I've got designed with the swimming pool on top. And it could be a hotel. Now, I want to get into the bore zone business of using a planner's design.
Can I hold that for you, those?
Let me just put that here.
Okay.
I'll need to refer to that. A planner designs things from A to Z and then back and forth, and you're always thinking and plugging things in. So my dad was a planner, okay? He worked for the town of Harwich as a volunteer, and he was chairman of the planning board and so on. So that's what I think I like to do. Like Dad, I like planning work. Now these are border zone zones, A, B, and C. The A area is more or less for manufacturing, and the B area is for living areas, and then the C area is for your county jails, etc., to use, and for programs for drugs, etc. Now I've got this designed as a, let's say, 5-mile by 5-mile block for the county, and then you go into your A and B zones. So it would be a 15-mile zone. Your setback from the border would be substantial. I have it at 900 feet. It could be more or less than that. But your nonprofit centers, as central to this whole program, this bore zone or border zone program, would be instrumental, because your county is supported by charities on the job. And they'd have many roles: equal opportunity, 501c3, and let's not diss the churches and the religions, because they can play a very good role. And when I was young and digging and getting thrown in jail for the Sacagawea Pond work, which is on Yankee Magazine, April 1992, if you're interested in looking that up. But the churches were big, and they would come in and they'd do services on a Wednesday, on a Sunday, and they'd sometimes have these special events that they'd do. And that was very good for the guys. A lot of the guys really need it. Boy, I could tell you stories about that. Maybe sometime for Pram Pizza. Anyway, so that's one of the reasons why. Now, in the jail area, or the bore zone C, again it goes A, B, C. A is for manufacturing, B is for living, etc. And C, it's an oversimplification, there's a lot more. But C would be for the county jails, and this is a very secure area. So if you came across the Mexican United States of America border and you entered into the jail area, you'd be breaking into a jail. So I don't think that's lost on people, that if you have a long ribbon of control where you actually have a very simple pipe and some razor wire as the border fence, wouldn't cost much at all. 2 minutes. Thanks, Dave. So that would give us on the border zone quite a bit of cost savings, because to build a huge wall, you know, that's going to cost billions. But to build a very simple fence, and then you break through that fence, hello, you're in a jail. You're in somebody's jail. Somebody's county jail, which is formally rented from the federal government, and from the state governments deal with the federal government. But you'd be breaking into a jail. So that's a very secure situation. So as a planner, I'm working on these 20-man J&B 4-level little huts. And this is a sparse... Did you want to say something, honey?
No, I want to show you.
1 minute, thanks. Okay, so anyway, this is very important work, because if we go ahead and build this wall, it may cost $20 billion. That's a lot of money. Now, instead of doing that, we'll put the $20 billion into this infrastructure here that I'm designing. It would be much more sensible. This border zone infrastructure, which would have many purposes. Well, we're going to do a prayer and pizza show next, aren't we? Okay, so folks, thanks a lot for watching the Scannell Agenda.
Thank
We
you.
need your help. And the title of this show is Help Wanted. We need your help. Thank you.